Kyiv. Here in New York's Paul Rieckhoff, host of the Independent Americans podcast. Seems like Putin, good to see you, Paul, is playing everybody here, including Trump, right? What do you think?
Yeah, I think welcome to September and welcome to our new normal where the lines are being drawn. You've got the bad guys on one side, North Korea, Russia, and potentially India, right? They're trying to pull India in either direction. And then you've got the U.S., you've got the UK, you've got France, you've got Ukraine. And this is what the new stalemate is probably going to look like. Hopefully it'll remain contained in places like Ukraine, but Poland, standing with Poland today, very critical, right? The Polish people are on the border. The Polish people have a ton to lose. Trump standing strong with Poland is an important counter to what we're seeing happening, you know, over in China and other places.
So my point is Putin's just dragging this out. It's pretty obvious that he doesn't, you know, he's not really, to Robert's point, serious about having kind of talks, hey, come to Moscow, this kind of thing. So what does Trump do? They asked Trump today in the Oval, like, if he had a message for Putin, and here's what he said. Yeah.
I have no message to President Putin. He knows where I stand, and he'll make a decision one way or the other. Whatever his decision is, we'll either be happy about it or unhappy. And if we're unhappy about it, you'll see things happen.
Things happen, like go after the oil. I mean, what are the things? That's the question.
Yeah. I think his message has to be stop bombing Ukraine, give back tens of thousands of Ukrainian children. I think he has to ratchet it up. I think the point.
But how does he send the message? Is it economic? Is it military?
It's all of that, right? Yeah. We have to remember that North Korea also sent troops into Ukraine, right? They're not just sitting on the sidelines.
Right.
China is sending support. These lines are pretty clearly drawn, and in some ways, Trump is a little late to this party. And I think he's got to continue to be strong. He's got to continue to emphasize what he will do, what he is doing. And I think he was very smart in focusing on India. India is up for grabs here. They've been pulled toward North Korea, pulled toward China. We have to pull them. They're the world's largest democracy. We have to pull them back to the U.S. and start to create our own alliances because the axis of evil is now forming. The worst case scenario.
Yeah, these are some pictures, right?
This is what World War III looks like, right? This is the worst case scenario, right?
All these guys walking around together, and there was a thing you see. You probably saw it. She and Putin are talking about living forever or whatever they were talking about.
Those are the bad guys, and we've got to make it clear that the U.S. and our allies are the good guys, and we've got to start to rally support through economic support, through our military emphasis, and through diplomacy. Now's the time for Trump to really be a diplomat and pull together a team that can stand opposite that.
I agree with you on India, and we talked about that a lot on the show when he went after them with the tariffs because they're the second largest buyer behind China of Russian oil. However, the question is, what was the effect of that? Did it end up driving Modi, the Indian Prime Minister, closer to the guys you're looking at on the screen? You know, it looks like it did. You know, looks can be deceiving, I guess, but that's the question.
Yeah, I mean, the goal should be to bring India to our side. If this doesn't work and we have to try a carrot instead of a stick, we should do that. I mean, so far we've been pretty lucky and smart that American troops haven't been caught in the crossfire here. We haven't lost any Americans, but there is a worst-case scenario where this can overflow into Eastern Europe, and that's why Poland is so key, right? Poland is the backstop right now. They need our unequivocal support. We've got U.S. troops there, and I think that's important to remember. We've got U.S. troops in that region and around the world, and they are constantly at risk, and the commander-in-chief has an obligation to protect them as well.
Let's talk about domestic politics for a moment. I said at the top of the hour, we'll talk about this later in the show again, how this Epstein story is not one that's going away. Ro Khanna and Thomas Massie, Democrat and Republican, are pushing it. They had this news conference today. Some of the victims who spoke out were doing so for the first time, all right? The files that came out last night, most people who look at that stuff for a living and have done it for a long time, so there wasn't much there that hadn't been released before. So now you say, what's next? Trump was asked about it all today, and here's what he said.
It reminds me a little of the Kennedy situation. We gave him everything over and over again, more and more and more, and nobody's ever satisfied. From what I understand, I could check, but from what I understand, thousands of pages of documents have been given. But it's really a Democrat hoax because they're trying to get people to talk about something that's totally irrelevant to the success that we've had as a nation since I've been president.
Democrat hoax, he says. What do you say?
The old political saying, if you're explaining, you're losing.
Yeah.
I think this is one issue where he's lost the narrative. And it's because it's not just Democrats. It's Republicans that continue to push forward for accountability, for transparency. And now you've got this image of 100 victims stepping forward. He's lost this narrative, and he's trying to push it away.
Marjorie Taylor Greene was there today.
He's trying to spin it away, but it keeps coming at him from all sides. And not just from his normal political enemies, but from people within his own party. So he's losing steam here. He's losing support among independents and especially among Republicans. Republicans. It's a major problem for him, and it's not going away.
What do you think the answer is? I mean, on the one hand, you would say the obvious answer, oh, release everything. Okay, release everything. Now, I think there are, we've talked to people about this, some legitimate concerns you could bring up. And so some of the victims who are willing to speak out today about others, if you do this in an unredacted way, who would not want their names released. There could be public figures' names who are released, but it's kind of out of context. They didn't really have anything to do with the wrongdoing. So it seems to me there is some risk that must be being talked about behind the scenes, too, and how you do it.
The risk that we have to be considerate most of all is the risk to the victims.
Right.
That, whether public figures are exposed, that's a matter of accountability, I think, right? And it's not like the Kennedy files, because they've released the Kennedy files. These have not all been released. And that's why there's a continued drumbeat for total accountability to release the names. And they should be able to do that in a responsible way that protects the victims and provides some final answers here and true transparency around this. Because this is not going away, and it's a problem not just for him, but now for J.D. Vance, for his entire administration. And it mucks up the other things that he wants to do, like focus on India and push back against Putin.
All right, Paul, as always, thank you. Paul Rieckhoff here in New York. Good to have you back. Good